morning. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're deeply grateful to the leadership and membership of the American Library Association, Communication Workers of America, CoSN, the Consortium of School Networking, Common Sense Media, the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, National Parents Union, and the 30 other organizations who lead the Keep Our Communities Connected movement. We thank you for your invaluable contributions to this important initiative. We also sincerely thank the media for their continued coverage of this critical issue and for ensuring our communities are informed about the impact of today's oral arguments. To join me in guiding us through today's proceedings, please welcome Joseph Wender, the Executive Director of SHLB, the Schools, Health, and Libraries Broadband Coalition. Joey's leadership comes at a pivotal moment in broadband policy, including today's Supreme Court hearing on the future of universal service funds. Joey will be guiding us through the press conference today. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you for Keep Our Communities Connected for helping to organize today's event. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right. It's great to see such tremendous support out here. Our coalition is both broad and bipartisan. We have teachers, educators, librarians, health providers, parents, and so many others out here today. And we're here to stand up for the millions of Americans who rely on affordable, high-speed internet to learn, to work, to receive health care, and to stay connected. You know, the Universal Service Fund is the cornerstone of digital opportunity and has been for decades, supporting programs like E-Rate, which helps schools and libraries, and the Rural Health Care Program, helping libraries, clinics, and hospitals. And despite the threats we face in the Supreme Court today and in Congress, we will not stop working, we will not stop fighting, and we will not stop organizing, because no community should be left behind. So I'm Joey Wender. I'm the Executive Director of the SHLB Coalition, Schools, Health, and Libraries Broadband Coalition. And we're a nonprofit advocacy organization that works to ensure all anchor institutions, schools, libraries, healthcare facilities, and the millions who depend on them have high-speed internet. You know, anchor institutions are the heartbeat of our communities. And to keep our students and our community members connected, we need robust access to health care, to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet. And so I'm proud that SHLB is a named party in the case being argued before the Supreme Court today. And I'm optimistic we're going to win. And here's why. For nearly 30 years, the Federal Communications Commission has done exactly what Congress told it to do. What services the fund will support, who will receive that support, and which entities will pay in. They've done exactly as they were told, and that's why we are optimistic we are going to prevail in court. It is now my honor to introduce Commissioner Ana Gomez. Commissioner Gomez has been a tremendous supporter of the Universal Service Fund, not just during her time at the Commission, but for the decades she has spent fighting on telecom issues, and including on making sure that the Universal Service Fund continues to support millions of Americans around the country. We are so happy and thankful you're here joining us today. And so with that, Commissioner Gomez.
Thank you. Good morning. This country has long valued connectivity for all, regardless of income, location, or circumstance. The Universal Service Fund has been an essential part of that promise, providing the funding necessary to connect millions of Americans. Whether through a phone line, broadband connection, or both, access to communications has been critical to the economic opportunity and to equality. When we invest in connectivity, we invest in people. We invest in their futures. We invest in the next generation's ability to learn, in rural communities' access to health care, and in working families' ability to thrive in an increasingly digital world. And it is always important to remember the big picture. Ensuring widespread access to broadband is a key ingredient to continued economic leadership. The Universal Service Fund supports essential programs that address that goal by reaching nearly every corner of the country. More than 54 million students and over 132,000 schools and library sites rely on the E-rate program for internet access. This ensures that no child is left behind due to lack of broadband. The Rural Healthcare Program provides healthcare providers with a 65% discount on an array of communication services that allow them to offer telehealth services to those who cannot otherwise afford it. This is critical for veterans, for seniors, and for those living in areas where medical care may be difficult to reach. The High Cost Program supports broadband deployment in areas where market forces alone fail to provide service. More than 20 million Americans still lack broadband access, and this program plays a vital role in closing that gap. And lastly, the Lifeline program helps over 7 million low-income Americans afford phone and internet services. This support is even more critical after the lapse last year of the Affordable Connectivity Program, a program on which 23 million households across the country rely. In the absence of this funding, families are having to make tough decisions, like deciding whether to buy groceries or to pay their internet bill. While the Lifeline program provides more limited support than the Affordable Connectivity Program, it serves an important purpose in assisting those with precarious connectivity. These programs are important because of the people they serve. The high school student in a rural town who needs the internet to do her homework. The elderly patient who depends on telehealth to manage his chronic condition. The job seeker preparing for her remote interview. And now, the Social Security recipient who needs to contact the Social Security Administration. The Universal Service Fund ensures that these people are not left behind and have the opportunity to thrive. Broadband connectivity is critical not only to the individual, but also to our nation's economy. Widespread connectivity has been linked to job growth, increased labor force participation, new business development, higher home values, and lower unemployment rates. In particular, areas with over 80% broadband adoption see 18% higher per capita income growth and 44% higher GDP growth. The impact is undeniable. Connectivity for all is not a red or a blue issue. Throughout its history, the Universal Service Fund has had bipartisan, bicameral support in Congress. In recent years, members of both parties have come together in an effort to protect and strengthen the Universal Service Fund. However, despite this broad support, the program remains under threat. There is no way we can ensure connectivity for all if we accept that market forces and realities will simply leave schools, hospitals, and low-income people, especially those in hard-to-reach areas, on the wrong side of the digital divide. Failure to protect the program would disproportionately impact those who need connectivity the most, deepening economic and social inequalities. For decades, the Universal Service Fund stood as a promise to the American people that no community will be left behind in the digital age. We must honor that promise. The stakes are too high to turn back now. Thank you.
Thank you again to Commissioner Gomez for coming out this morning and for all of your support for the Universal Service Fund. I'm going to turn it over now to the Superintendent of the Arlington, Virginia Public Schools, Francisco Duran.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on this very important issue today. As we gather here today before a very pivotal moment for public education, I'm here to speak on behalf of many of my colleagues, superintendents across the country. The case before the Supreme Court today is not just about E-rate funding. It's about the future of digital access for millions of students across this country, including the 28,000 students I serve in Arlington, Virginia. Internet access is truly an essential service in education, providing a gateway to services and opportunities that support student academic success, well-being, mental health, and much more. For 30 years, we have had this lifeline in our school districts to help us meet every child's need, no matter their zip code, so that they can have access to digital tools they need to learn, connect, and to thrive. This funding is more about numbers on a budget, though. It is a way that we empower our students to engage in online learning, complete research projects, connect them to tutoring services after school, homework help, support from home, and importantly, we've seen more and more access to mental health for students in the evenings and weekends when they don't have direct access to counselors in their school. It's also what helps our teachers ensure that they can use modern technology to bring lessons to life in their classrooms. And it's what keeps our schools connected to the world beyond our walls of our individual buildings. In Arlington Public Schools, we rely on E-rate dollars to fund our network infrastructure, fiber access, and high-speed internet in our classrooms. This support offers half of the budget we need to do that in our school system. And if it is taken away, we cannot simply absorb this loss without making significant trade-offs in our budget. Trade-offs like potentially class size increases, instructional programs needing to be cut, or reductions in other essential services that we need for our students and supports for our teachers. And for thousands of other school systems across this country, the impact of losing these funds may be even more severe. If you are a smaller district, a rural district, underfunded communities, you may lose actually basic just internet services. Speaking with some of my colleagues that are in other districts, they won't even be able to provide basic internet services without those severe cuts to their budget. This is simply unacceptable. This leaves students and teachers without the basic needs to simply learn in today's century that we're in. Simply put, this is not a choice. This is an educational crisis that we all must stand up for. The Supreme Court's decision will shape the future of education funding for years to come. As educators, as leaders, and everyone who's here with you, thank you for coming together to stand up to say we are not willing to compromise the future of our students. We are not willing to say that we are going backwards in what we're trying to do, moving education forward. Because if we allow for funding for connectivity to disappear, we are not just cutting dollars from our budgets, we are changing the opportunity for children to learn, and our students deserve better.
Thank you. That was great. We're now going to turn to an educator, Babak Mostagami from Georgia. Please.
Good morning. It's so great to see everybody. It's great to see the sun finally coming out this morning. A little bit less cold. I bring greetings from Atlanta, Georgia, where it's 80 degrees right now. So come visit anytime you'd like. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about something that's extremely, extremely important. As a person who is an educator in rural Mississippi, a former assistant superintendent in Gwinnett County, Georgia, and a person who grew up in the rural South, I'll tell you what, without internet connectivity, a lot of things just can't happen. We talked today about the digital divide. We talked today about global competitiveness. And what does that look like in the age of AI if people don't have access to the basic internet access and technology that they need every single day? Now, the neat part about E-rate and all the work that happens because of it is that it shows up not only in our schools, it shows up in our rural community libraries. It shows up in places that families connect with one another and with their communities and with the world around them. And so as a person who's working right now on the future of learning in America, making sure that we can accelerate progress towards a learner-centered future where every young person is able to thrive in life, career, and community, it's critical that we maintain the digital infrastructure that exists out there in the world. I remember a moment as a teacher when I was a 5th grade teacher in rural Mississippi, and one of my students came to me asking for support on an assignment. And thankfully, because of E-rate and because of the funds available to our community, I was able to point her to the library to get internet access, to be able to do the project herself, to build those digital skills, and to be able to do great things for her own future, to make sure that she understood what was going on in the world, to make sure that she could finish her report. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it seems ridiculous that in 2025, we're talking about cutting internet access to folks. It seems ridiculous that we're making superintendents parents and teachers and other people to make a choice between staffing and internet. This doesn't make sense. Not in America, not today. So ladies and gentlemen, I really thank everybody out here for coming to support the E-rate work. It's really important that we keep up our funding for the future of America and for our global competitiveness. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. I agree it would be better to be in Georgia where it's 80 degrees. However, we are standing underneath a blooming cherry blossom tree. So we do have that advantage. We're going to turn now to, we're so proud to have CWA here, our labor partners. Such an incredible partnership here on E-rate and all things USF. So if Melissa Smith Kupahia could come up and address the crowd. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name again is Melissa Smith Kupahia, and I'm the president of Local 2336 of the Communication Workers of America. And we want you to know that CWA members know how much universal service matters. We have members who are fiber technicians who get families connected to the internet. We have members who are teachers and nonprofit workers who know how much access is so important to their students and those they serve in the community. Not only that, we also have members who work in call centers, retail stores, and they're getting folks connected so that they can live and work efficiently and productively. Does that sound like any of you? Well, I've been a retail sales consultant in a store here in DC and also back home in Alabama. You might have heard of the accent, right? But just like Alabama, there's a lot of rural areas in Maryland without high-speed internet. And parts of Allegheny, Cecil, Carroll, Harford counties have no fiber to connect to. And many of these areas throughout Maryland have residents that are living beneath the poverty line in these rural counties. So the USF fund is definitely important. E-rate is needed in those areas. Those areas, which programs call high-cost areas for build-out, they need the fiber build-out. What that looks like is if we don't have this funding, you could live on a long road, a county road, and only halfway down the road there's internet, and the rest of you, your neighbor next door, could literally not have it. It would stop right at their door. So again, we need this funding. People need these services to stay connected, not only in the rural areas, but it is really a lifeline to services for work and school, especially if you have kids, right? These services help to supplement and offset the cost of internet services in our schools, in our libraries, and to those that are disadvantaged and in those high-cost areas. When they say high cost, they mean to build out the fiber. Right now, we already have a fiber initiative in place called the Broadband initiative, and it goes hand in hand with this E-rate. I think these things are very important to single parents because it's very expensive internet, right? And this funding allows for it to be offset so that those in those disadvantaged areas can take advantage of the same internet high-speed services that those of us in the suburban areas and in the city do. If these families lose connection, it will be a generation left behind. It is not like the years of, well, like me and you. Most of you here are at least over 30 or 40 years old, but not like 25 years ago, okay? I remember having dial-up, and that was expensive to me. It was not a luxury. It was a luxury, not a necessity, is what I'm trying to say. Today, internet and access is a necessity. It is no longer a luxury, and every single American should be able to have it to live, work, and be productive in this environment today. We're in the technology environment, and we need it. Let me just say this. If the program ends, over 54 million students could lose access, and over 7.5 million families could lose their lifeline benefit. And that includes about 95,000 students and 19,000 families in DC alone. So CWA is proud to stand with all of the Supreme Court to keep our families connected.
Thank you. And thank you again for emphasizing how much of a necessity broadband is. We're going to turn now to Angela Seifer, the Executive Director, NDIA, and a proud SHLB board member. Please, Angela.
Good morning. Thank you, Joey. Thanks to everyone for being here. Yay! Nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news, but here it is. Being online is no longer a choice. It is a luxury to take a break from the internet. A break that requires planning. Pay your bills. Request a prescription refill. Submit a class assignment. You all know a to-do list like this. Yet millions of Americans cannot be online when they need to be online. NDIA is an intervener in this case because getting safely online and staying online is absolutely essential today. NDIA's 2,000 plus affiliates are community-based organizations, libraries, housing authorities, local governments. These are all trusted institutions guiding their neighbors to safely get and stay online. To conduct the business of life that is online. To not only survive, but to thrive. Nobody disagrees with the end result. We all want a country where students can keep up, veterans can get health care, and small businesses can reach people online. We need the Universal Service Fund so that we can modernize the Universal Service Fund. The United States cannot compete globally if a quarter of our citizens are struggling to get and stay online. Regardless of the outcome of this case, we need a bicameral, bipartisan solution, and we need it now. Families should not have to pick between a month of broadband or a month of breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you again, Angela. We're going to turn now to our speaker from the National Parents Union, Carrie Rodriguez. Carrie.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Carrie Rodriguez. My lips are a little frozen, bear with me. I am president of the National Parents Union. We are the united modern voice of American families. And we represent 1,800 pockets of parent power in all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico, about 1.8 million members of our organization. But most importantly, I'm Matthew, Miles, and David's mom. And I work with moms across this country who are fighting every single day to make sure our kids have what they need to succeed. We're here today because too many families across this country, especially in rural communities, have been left behind for far too long. And now access to the essential communication services that keep our families connected is under direct threat. Let me be clear, universal service is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. It's what makes it possible for a student in a small town to complete their homework, for a parent in a rural area to access telehealth for their child, for a family to apply for jobs, to stay in touch with loved ones, and to be part of a modern digital society. But if you live in a rural zip code, chances are you're still struggling to get access to consistent, affordable internet access even now. Too many of our families are facing slow speeds, unreliable connections, sky-high costs, and now with this Supreme Court case, that already fragile connection is at risk of being severed completely. We cannot and we will not allow that to happen. The truth is that this decision is going to impact the everyday lives of millions of Americans. It's going to shape whether or not our kids can grow and whether or not families, regardless of their income or geography, can access opportunity. So today we want to send a very loud and clear message. Parents are paying attention. We demand that the Supreme Court uphold universal service. We demand that our leaders protect and expand the programs that keep us connected. Because access to communication is not a privilege for the wealthy and the well-connected. It's a right for every American family. Rural parents, like every parent in this country, want what's best for their kids, but they can't compete, they can't participate, and they can't thrive if they're left disconnected. We will not leave our communities behind, not now and not ever. Thank you so much.
We're now going to turn to our librarian friends. ALA is here, Sonia, Alcantara, and Tone. If you could join us, that'd be great.
Good morning. Good morning. If there's rowdy people behind me, they're probably librarians. Thank you all for being here to show up for libraries and to stand up for broadband for all. My name is Sonia Alcantara Antoine. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Baltimore County Public Library, and I'm the past president of the Public Library Association. In Baltimore County Public Library, our job is to connect people to the resources that they're going to need to be successful in school, work, and in life. And success in today's world does not and cannot happen without reliable and affordable access to the internet. Today, the American Library Association and our advocates are fighting for the Universal Service Fund because we believe that having access to broadband is a human right. The Universal Service Fund supports vital connectivity in a world where being unconnected means being left behind. The internet is as essential to life as clean air and water. Everything that we do in today's modern world, from how we learn, how we work, how we communicate and connect, how we access health resources, how we stay informed as citizens, how we share knowledge and innovate, and so much more, is contingent upon internet access. It's not a luxury for a privileged few, but a necessity for all. The E-rate program funded by the Universal Service Fund brings opportunity to my community and others every single day. In Baltimore County, about 20% of our households lack access to home broadband. But thanks to the E-rate program, we are able to bridge that opportunity gap so that all members of our community can succeed and thrive. Thanks to E-rate, one of our regular users, her name is Madison, she checked out a Wi-Fi hotspot from the library so that she can attend school online. She is working 2 part-time jobs to help care for her household, which includes 2 people living with disabilities. Madison is determined to uplift herself and her family out of poverty and using the library's internet resources to do it, and that is powered by E-rate. Another regular customer, he's unhoused. He checked out a Chromebook and a hotspot from the public library, and now he's using those tools to earn an associate's degree and gain permanent housing. The trajectory of his life has changed thanks to resources like E-rate. Baltimore County Public Library is not alone. Nationwide, about half of all public libraries rely on E-rate for high-speed broadband that their communities need. For many individuals and families, the library is the only place where they can get on the internet because in 2025, 1 in 5 U.S. households still do not have access to home broadband. For example, like in Gregory County, South Dakota, where many of the students do not have internet access at home, even though the school has provided them with a tablet or laptop. The students go to their public library after school, where they submit their homework online. Students come to the library to use the Wi-Fi powered by E-rate, and there they have a fighting chance at achieving academic success. When multiple tornadoes struck Kokomo, Indiana in 2016, hundreds of residents were forced to take refuge in an emergency shelter. The Kokomo Public Library relocated its mobile lab with laptops and hotspots to the shelter so that people could notify family that they were safe, use social media to connect with missing friends, and apply for assistance to rebuild their lives. E-rate powered broadband provided a safety net in a time of devastation and loss. When Congress first mandated E-rate in 1996, only 28% of library systems offered public access to the internet. Today, virtually all of our nation's libraries offer internet access to the public thanks to programs like E-rate. Nearly 30 years and $600 million later, a nominal investment with a huge impact, E-rate has helped provide internet access to almost every community in this nation and has changed countless lives. Today, we urge Congress and the Supreme Court to work together to protect the federal funding that keeps all Americans connected. We stand united in defense of the United Service Fund that bridges digital divide and keeps our communities connected. Access to the internet is a foundational element for personal empowerment, societal connection, civic participation, and economic growth and opportunity. And because a rising tide lifts all boats, affordable and accessible internet for all Americans, regardless of income, location, or political affiliation, makes us stronger as a nation. Protect the Universal Service Fund and programs like E-Rate, and preserve access to affordable and reliable internet for all. Thank you.
We'll next turn to the great Keith Kruger from CoSN, please.
Thanks, Joey. Good morning. I'm Keith Kruger, CEO of CoSN. We're the National Association of EdTech Leaders, CIOs, CTOs. And let me give you the headline for today. The E-Rate program is one of the greatest success stories in education. Let me repeat that. The E-Rate program is one of the greatest success stories in education.
That's an applause line.
Let's talk about the impact of E-Rate. 99% of public school students and 45% of private school students rely on internet connectivity made possible by the E-Rate. Thanks to the E-Rate's competitive bidding process, the cost of school bandwidth has dropped 92% between 2015 and 2025, a remarkable achievement for making broadband affordable for schools. And E-Rate works, and the data proves it. 94% of E-Rate applicants say that its funding is vital to their organization's internet connectivity. 92% of applicants say E-Rate ensures affordable broadband access, and 89% say they have faster internet connections because of the E-Rate. I challenge you to find another government program with that level of success and satisfaction from those that it serves. But what would be the real world consequences if we lost E-Rate? Without E-Rate, most school districts simply could not afford the essential broadband and Wi-Fi that powers learning every day. In fact, our audience of chief technology officers, 74% said that losing E-Rate would have a major or catastrophic impact on their schools. It would jeopardize students' ability to learn, connect, and thrive in an increasingly digital world. But don't just believe me in Washington. Let's hear directly from some of the educators and technology leaders who see the impact of E-Rate every day. For instance, Nick Lapp, CIO in Intermountain Education Service District in Oregon, says, E-Rate funding has made it possible to bring reliable internet to 10 small rural districts in eastern Oregon, some with as few as 32 students. This investment has transformed educational opportunities and keeps vital connectivity affordable, allowing more resources to support learning. Or listen to Sarah Radcliffe, Executive Director of Education Technology at the School District of Altoona, Wisconsin. Quote, "For our rural school district, E-Rate funding is essential. Without it, we would face delays, outdated technology, and cybersecurity risks that compromise student learning." Or listen to Superintendent Kelly Mae Vollmer of Desert Sands in California. She says cutting E-Rate undermines 21st century education, denying students the digital tools they need to compete and succeed. In today's world, internet access isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for learning and opportunity. Or hear from Jeff Gibbs, Executive Director of Technology Services in Gresham Barlow School District in Oregon, who says, E-Rate keeps our schools connected, from auto shop students using wireless diagnostics to cybersecurity learners getting hands-on experience. Reliable internet is essential for modern education, and without E-Rate, the cost could mean cutting teachers and staff. So in closing, this is not just about internet access. It's about opportunity and the future of education in America. We must protect and strengthen E-Rate to ensure that every student, no matter their zip code, has access to the digital tools and resources they need to succeed.
Thank you, Keith. I'd now like to welcome Jim Rogers, a leader in the telehealth and healthcare community.
Thank you, Aaron. Very excited to be here. My name is Jim Rogers. As Aaron said, I have worked my whole career in technology services. For the last 20 years, I have been helping rural healthcare providers across New England connect to each other and to their urban counterparts. In 2007, using the Rural Healthcare Pilot Program, I helped launch the New England Telehealth Consortium, which now spans 6 states and supports over 1,300 hospitals and clinics and rural healthcare providers throughout New England. Rural healthcare providers are more dependent than ever on high-quality medical-grade broadband for access to remotely located specialists, to electronic health records, and to the growing number of AI-based medical applications such as transcription and telehealth. While the demand for medical-grade broadband continues to grow exponentially, many rural healthcare providers are in financial crisis. New England Telehealth Consortium is part of a group of healthcare providers that recently filed an important amicus brief to the court. This country's commitment to the universal service in telecommunications is over 100 years old. Congress established the Universal Service Program for rural health care over 30 years ago. The FCC's authority to maintain just and reasonable communication rates for all Americans is long established and includes the authority to set explicit charges to recover the costs for these vital services and this universal service programs. For this and the many other reasons articulated by the FCC, by SHLB, and other appellants, we are confident the court will uphold this program. Thank you.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to introduce Senator Ed Markey, just a champion of connectivity and communities across the country. Senator Markey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Thank you to SHLB for hosting today's press conference to save the Universal Service Fund. For over 15 years, under the leadership of John Winhausen, SHLB has been a critical partner on protecting the E-rate program. And I commend John for his long and impressive tenure. And I'm proud and delighted that Joey Wender, my former telecom advisor, has taken over the mantle from John at SHLB. Like I was before them, schools and libraries across the country are fortunate to have Joey in their corner. We are here today because the Supreme Court is about to hear a case that should never have been brought in the first place. A case that puts at risk one of the most vital tools that we have to connect kids, schools, and libraries, and our communities to the future. Let me be crystal clear. This lawsuit attacking the constitutionality of the Universal Service Fund is absurd. It is dangerous. And it is being pushed by right-wing ideologues who want to take a wrecking ball to one of the pillars of digital equity in the United States. In 1996, I wrote the E-rate program into law as part of the Telecommunications Act because I believed then, and I believe even more now, that access to education shouldn't depend upon your zip code. Every child, in every classroom, in every community, urban or rural, rich or poor, deserves access to the internet. That is a right. It is not a privilege. It is something that every child in America is entitled to. Since its creation, the E-rate program has invested over $62 billion into connecting our schools and our libraries to the internet. Last year alone, the E-rate program provided more than $2.5 billion for broadband services, Wi-Fi equipment, and network upgrades to thousands of schools and libraries all across our nation. And those connections, are lifelines for these young people in our nation. It gives them a chance to be able to fully participate in our society. And that's real money, making a real difference in real lives every single day. And thanks to the E-rate, thousands of schools in the United States now have high-speed internet access. That's millions of students who can research, learn, grow with the tools they need to succeed in the 21st century. So don't take it from me. E-rate participants widely agree. 94% of them say that the program is vital to their connectivity goals. And 90% say they have faster internet connections and connect more students to the internet because of the E-rate program. The Universal Service Fund makes this possible. It also supports rural healthcare providers, low-income families through the Lifeline program, and broadband deployment in remote communities. This is a cornerstone of our commitment to universal, affordable connectivity. But now, far-right legal activists want to tear it all down. They claim the Universal Service Fund is unconstitutional because the Federal Communications Commission, rather than Congress, sets the fees that telecom providers pay into the fund. Let me remind you, Congress created the Universal Service Fund. We directed the Federal Communications Commission to implement it, and we have overseen it for nearly 3 decades. This is not about constitutional principle. It's about an ideological crusade to dismantle the government's ability to ensure that all Americans, not just the wealthy or the well-connected, can get online when they need it, especially the children of our nation. Let me say to the Supreme Court, do not allow this attack on E-rate and the Universal Service Fund to succeed. Our children's future depend upon it. Children are only 20% of our nation's population, but they are 100% of our future, a digital future for our nation and for them as well. Our rural hospitals depend upon it. Our democracy depends upon each child getting the help which they need. We're going to defend the E-rate. We're going to defend the Universal Service Fund. And we're going to keep building a country where everyone has the tools they need in order to survive and to thrive in the 21st century. This should not be based upon income. It should be based upon your ability to be able to use the technology. When I was a boy, I could take home my book bag to compete against the school superintendent's son. Today, you need digital technologies that are available on a universal basis so that they, no matter who they are, no matter their race, no matter their income, can compete with the school superintendent's children. That is what the E-rate's all about. That's what this program's all about. And that's why the Supreme Court must uphold the Universal Service Fund and the E-rate program. Thank you all so much, all of you, for what you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey, for your consummate champion of universal service and E-rate. We are so grateful on behalf of parents, communities, families, librarians all across this country. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us today. If you have questions for any of our speakers, please take this opportunity to ask. And again, we hope that you will join us to keep our communities connected. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.